good morning, one and all. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to this episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Today, Thursday, the 28th day of September 2023. Yes, Thursday. Today is Thursday. And as we indicated yesterday, we're going to have this special session today and to keep you up to date and to address some issues. When I posted the notification for the program today, I said we're going to follow up on the issue relating to the denial of former Minister of Public Infrastructure, David Patterson. He was denied to travel to the United States, stopped by the immigration authorities in Guyana, and we'll also deal with this Venezuela spurious claim on 2/3 of Guyana. So welcome, share the live, let people know, because I suspect that a lot of people would not know. Even some of you who were in class yesterday might have missed the information, might have missed the notification that we are going to have this special session today, Thursday, the 28th day of September. But having said that, when I looked at the number of students that were in the classroom prior to the gates being open, the school door being open, it wasn't much different from the other days. So the interest is still there. The interest is still there. So welcome one and all. Welcome. Share the live. Share the live. But before we get started, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish, today's a holiday in Guyana, to wish all my Muslim brothers and sisters happy Yom Nabi, the birth of the Prophet Muhammad. So as you celebrate, I know you're going to make sure you rededicate yourself to all that is righteous and all that is good. So happy Yom Nabi to all the my Muslim brothers and sisters. I know some of you are on this program. Those who are not on the live, I know that people watch YouTube and they watch on Facebook at some subsequent time. So happy Yom Nabi to all. As today, as I say, it's a special day, special program, and therefore we're not going to have much preamble. Of course, you must have the roll call, which we're going to have in a short while, but must say to us that this is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it, and let's celebrate being in the land of the living. Many people are not that fortunate. So yes, this is the day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. And moving on, as I've said, lots of students in the roll call in the classroom schoolyard this morning, these YouTubers, and then when we went live at 11, the Facebookers came in. I'd like to, say it too. I see Denise is on the live, our secretary. She had some health challenges recently, and it's good to see that she's on the live. And yesterday she did indicate that she's feeling much better. So Denise, glad to know that you are recuperating, and take good care of yourself, my sister. And this is from me, Mr. Conway, and all the fellow students, whether they're present in class today or not. But let me load the roll call, and then we're going to bring Mr. Conway in. He's already in the studio, and you will see what I'm saying about persons being here very early this morning. We scheduled the program just about 8, and almost immediately we had Kenneth came in, said early board catches the worm. That is so true. Then we had all the way from the UK, Wayne came in class at 8 to 8, and a man who never misses class, Sean, ex-sergeant, Robin Janat, he's watching from New York, and he asked for permission to fall in. But once you come, permission is automatically granted for you to fall in the class. Then my squad mate from Canada, Gaston, from Vancouver, Canada, he's here very early this morning, 9556. We lived together in the same bar room for 6 straight months. Then Tessa don't ever miss. Tessa don't miss. Tessa is here. Joan came in this morning at 8:14. Denise came after her. And then Vibert last 9066. I always remember those numbers, man. I remember our youth code days, and I remember our days at Sparndam Police Station. Barbara came in, and then we had another squad mate of mine, Carlton, 9430. And he's here waiting for the holiday class, special class, holiday class. And then the original black man is here. And he said he missed yesterday. He missed yesterday's show. He missed the live, but he watched the replay, and here today on the live. So welcome, original black man. Pauline came in at 8:44. Ral Next regular, never misses. Ral is here. Desiree, another regular, is here. For all the way from Georgia, she says. She's here watching. Machu came into class. Then we had Joan came in and she says she's schoolyard. She's skylarking until the school door open. Well, the school door is open now and she's in the class. Felicia came in next. Good morning, peace and love to everyone. Same to you, my dear. Charlene, don't miss it. Charlene is here every day, every day, every day. And Ulrich, good man. Then we have John is here. Floyd is here. Floyd said, what? He got brothers from another mother. Sorry to be late. You're late. You're late. No punishment. No, we have no punishment. You know that you're a good student. Lucius is here very early, every day as well. Then we have Leslie. He promised to be here every day. And he said he missed class yesterday. Look, you say you missed class yesterday, you overslept. And he will take 7 days CB, no drills. Well, what is handing on is CB with drills. You don't get CB. For those of you who don't know, CB is confinement to barracks. But CB is confinement to barracks with drills. You have to go on the midday train. So Leslie, we understand that you're pleading, but I'm saying the Police Discipline Act does not permit for CB without drill. It's CB and drill, right? So come again, come with something else. TK is in class. TK, and you know, coincidentally, TK came in at 9:35. And TK is saying here his number is 9135, but he came in at 9:35. 9135 King came in at 0935. What a coincidence. Then Brennan came in next. After Brennan, we had all of these are regulars. Jacko from Florida, Jacko from Georgia, rather, is here. Winston from the UK. Welcome, Winston. Welcome in the house. Then Joy came in. Ex-Sergeant 14, I remember 14890. I can't recall seeing Joy on this class before, but I remember Joy. I think Joy used to be at Brickdam at some stage. So welcome, Joy. Kerry is here. Kerry's all the way from Baltimore. Welcome, Kerry. Then we had Isabella, all a regular. Then Jakey came in class. Then we had Courtney. Then we had his bank brother Vibart coming in there. Then Francis came in around the same time. Pamela came in. And then we had Ronald Jonas. He said his father's badge number was 5199. Then we had Sandra, Derek, Evelyn, George, my countryman George, Vernon. Then we had Anthony is here. Melissa, you see what I tell you how many people in the classroom before the program start? Terence, I missed you a few weeks, and I saw you were there yesterday, and I missed you a few weeks. Welcome. Terence from Toronto, 9795 was his regulation number. Chilo is always here. He came in at 10:32. Then we had Everett, the man coming in, he's from the Lone Star State. And then another squad mate of mine, Carol, 9390 is here. And Pamela is here, a regular in the program as well. Emerson, Carl, another squad mate, 9414, all the way from Arizona. Then we had Stian. Stian is a regular. John Shortman, my good friend and fellow shooter. Then we had Patricia G coming in. Magnell, next. Rahim is here. Brower, Michael is here. See what I tell you? These are all the people on YouTube before the program even got started. So I'm telling you, the schoolyard was full. Joan, when we went live, Joan came in on Facebook. Then we had Karen coming in on Facebook. Desiree coming in. Ishmael is here. Patricia. Franklin, welcome, Franklin. And Ishmael came back to say educational, informative. Yeah, we try to do our best to give you the valid, credible information. Carlton is here, and many others. And as we go along, we will come back to, I will try to remember to come back to acknowledge some of these students who are here. Well, let me bring in my colleague, Mr. Conway, for him to give you his morning greetings. CC, welcome to this special edition of Speaking Out.
Thank you, and special good morning to all our viewers or listeners. Happy to be in the land of living, and more particularly as a patriotic Guyanese, for us to deal with the unjust claim of Venezuela and to make our input when others, especially those at the top, are just pussyfooting with the whole issue.
Yeah, so welcome. As we said, this is one. Well, initially when we talked yesterday, we said that would have been the main topic of today's program. But then this issue with former Minister Patterson took a turn yesterday, and I think we need to address this issue as well. So we're gonna do so now. But before we do, let me just recount what really transpired. Mr. Patterson, a former minister under in the coalition government, according to the story, he was traveling to Washington, D.C., where they have this conference, diaspora conference, to discuss what they say issues relating to discrimination, on inclusiveness, and the like, meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus and other policymakers in Washington. So the opposition members traveled there. The conference started yesterday. It is continued today. And Mr. Patterson attempted to leave Tuesday night. Now, let me tell you the sequence of events for you to understand what transpired. According to Mr. Patterson, he checked in. He said immigration, he checked through customs, and he was in the departure lounge for about 30 minutes when the immigration officer came to him and told him that there was something with his travel, and invited him back to the office or something like that. When he got back there, he was told that there is something in the system which says that he should not travel. And he was prevented. He explained to them that the law, he was on bail, and we'll talk about that. He's on bail, and the court did not grant any permission for him to not, but the court did not rule that he should not travel. As a matter of fact, he claimed that when the matter came up before the magistrate, his lawyer, Mr. Hughes, made a request, and the magistrate expressly stated that Mr. Patterson is permitted to travel on official and other business. They were told that. They said they had to call higher up. That is what they say. And then apparently their attempt to call these higher ups failed, and so Mr. Patterson was denied boarding. He couldn't board. He was scheduled to leave on the American Airlines. The plane left without him. During all of this, he called his lawyer. His lawyer got on to the same people to tell them what the law is. They still did not budge, or they could not budge. But let me explain. As a frequent traveler going through Timiri, you go through there, and the first thing you do, you interact with the airline that you're traveling with. They check your documents, especially if you're going to the States. They want to make sure you either have an American passport, you have a green card, or any other passport you have other than an American passport. There's a valid visa. They go through that. When you do that, then you have to go and check through customs or canoe, where you put your suitcase on the scanner. It goes through. You then leave and you go to a first desk. That's just before you enter immigration. The desk is there where they will check your passport and your boarding pass to make sure you have that. And then you move beyond that part to the immigration area. Now you would have to fill out your departure form and all of that. Now you present your departure form, your passport, to the immigration officers there. They will go through it. They will check the system. They go through it and they check the system. And once they check the system and there's nothing there preventing you from traveling, then and only then they allow you to go past that. So you go past that part, you go through the security where they scan your bags and sometimes frisk and pat you down, and then you go into the waiting lounge. I know from time, but sometimes too, if you're traveling in that area, before you get into the departure lounge, there's another security check there where they want to see your passport, your green card, and the like before you are allowed into the departure lounge. So Mr. Patterson went through all of that. And I am saying this, the police issued a statement, a plural statement, I would say. And basically, hear what they're saying. Let me read what they say. They're saying, after all of this, they said that the Guyana Police Force would like to apologize to Member of Parliament, Mr. David Patterson, whose name inadvertently remained on an immigration department's watch list. Mr. Patterson's name was placed on the watch list in July of 2023 during an ongoing investigation by the police into accusation of indecent exposure. The Guyana Police Force has internal SOPs to deal with such issues, and a full probe is underway by the Office of Professional Responsibility as to why Mr. Patterson's name was not removed earlier from the list. Mr. Patterson's name has since been removed from the watch list. Now, let me say this. Let me say this. Given the sequence of events, Mr. Patterson presented himself to the immigration officers. He would have presented his passport. He would have presented his the departure form to them. They would have gone through that. And they would have satisfied themselves that nothing was there to prevent Mr. Patterson from traveling. Let me understand this thing clearly. So we see they're trying to show these junior ranks under the bus. What I'm saying that, and let me say this as a person who've passed through there frequently. These ranks, the immigration people, are very, very efficient. They might look young, but from my interaction with them, they are very efficient. And I dare say, and as I said yesterday, the immigration department is one of the more efficient departments in the Guyana Police Force. And I say that without any fear of contradiction, even though I understand now, and this is not their fault, that when you apply for a passport, currently you have to wait 2 months. But that's not the immigration people's fault, right? I recall under the coalition 1 week, you got your passport. So we're going to touch on that. But I'm saying he presented himself to the immigration authorities. Those people are efficient. They would have gone through that system and satisfied themselves that nothing is in the system to prevent Mr. Patterson from traveling. And that is then is only then they would stamp his exit on the in his passport and allow them to proceed beyond that point. He proceeded beyond that point. He was in the departure lounge for 30 minutes. About 30 minutes, he says. And then they're saying that somebody approached him to say something. So the question is, when did this thing appear in this this system, as you say, for the ranks not to have observed it before? And I'm saying, if at all anything appeared in the system, it had to be between the time Mr. Patterson checked through immigration and the time they approached him in the departure lounge. That's the only way. So when the ranks checked, he definitely would not have been in the system. He would not have been in the system. So when he passed, apparently somebody must have, I don't know what the reporting system, if they've reported to the chief immigration officer, who is the commissioner of police, or the deputy chief immigration officer, who is Stephen Telford, and whether they, because I am saying no one else would have authorized them to stop Mr. Patterson from passing. And I'm saying this from experience. Some people saying politicians might have gotten involved. I have no doubt that they may have gotten involved. But even if a politician had called one of the ranks on duty to tell them to prevent Mr. Patterson from traveling, they would have, I'm sure, gotten on right away to either the supervisor, who would have gotten on to the DCIO, the Deputy Chief Immigration Officer. Those ranks at the airport, those relatively junior ranks at the airport, would not have taken it upon themselves to deny Mr. Patterson boarding on that plane and put down your pipe and smoke it. So all this rubbish they come with, and let me bring in Mr. Conway for him to get to say, and then I'll come back and deal with it. Because there are other issues that I really want to expound on. But let Mr. Conway obviously at this stage. CC, let me hear what you have to say at this point.
I endorse the statements that you made in relation to the immigration rank. They're very, very efficient. And I think courtesy is their watchword. I had a lot of dealings with them. And also had dealings with their boss, Mr. Telford. Very good officer. But the whole thing is unbelievable. Here it is, a former minister of government, a serving member of parliament, and you, according to the police, what I've read, put him on a watch list, which is illegal, and also saying, what is not is saying that it should have been taken off because he was under investigation for exposing his genitals. And let me, I always like go to the law, And here is section 28.1 of the Sexual Offences Act, chapter 2010. They were saying a person, the accused, and again the accused in bracket, commits the offense of exposing of genitals if the accused, A, intentionally exposes the genitals. Hear it? Intentionally exposes genitals of the accused, and B, intends that someone will see the genitals of the accused and cause alarm or distress. Let me repeat. Intends that someone will see the genitals of the accused and cause alarm or distress. That is the charge I understand that he has. And that is a charge, according to the police, that you could blacklist, illegally blacklist. Although blacklisting people is illegal. For that, a charge as simple as that. I wonder if person said that he mistakenly dropped his pants and he didn't intend to cause anyone to be alarm or distress. And the thing is that I agree with you, Paul, that it had to be. I'm certain that that thing wasn't in the system. They're looking to sacrifice someone of the junior immigration officer or supervisor. That could never be in the system because they will check thoroughly. They have computerized system. They press a couple letters and the name will come up. And then so the instructions are to come from someone high up, and I wouldn't be surprised that they call somebody and say, hey, when certain persons of interest are leaving the country, Palestinians leaving the country, and then maybe the person must call some politician say, stop him, don't let go to Washington, he may talk nonsense, as the case may be. That the thing is illegal, and according to the Constitution, it is illegal. Is only a judge. Section Article 148 3D talks about a judge passing the order to prevent you when you get back in court, to prevent you from not judge or magistrate, to prevent you from leaving the country. You must get the order gotta come from the court and nowhere else. Not the deputy immigration officer or the chief immigration officer. It got to come from the court. That is clear in Article 148 3D. But no, following politicians and are sticking over in the neck, they're following politicians and doing illegal things. They had no right whatsoever. And then look what they're saying is they apologize. I didn't see no apology there. They said they would like to apologize. Where's would like to apologize? I haven't seen any formal letter written to Palestine um, apologizing for the action taken while he was a teammate, while he was denied the opportunity to leave the country. There's no formal letter addressed to him. Just we would like to apologize. Total disrespectful. The whole thing. And then again, here what they're saying, because only certain persons in authority could give the permission, the chief immigration officer maybe and his deputy, for him not to leave the country. And they're saying the OPR will investigate. So they can get the OPR investigating persons for a junior. The head of the OPR is a deputy soup. The deputy chief immigration officer superintendent, and the chief immigration officer is a squatter. But his official his confirmed rank is an assistant commissioner. So you'll have a deputy superintendent investigating a superintendent and investigating an assistant commissioner who is squatting as an acting commissioner. So the whole thing is a mockery, and that's where incompetence comes in. Because when you're incompetent and you try your incompetent best, you're still incompetent. Let me repeat. You are incompetent and you try your incompetent best, you're still incompetent. They're trying to throw junior immigration officer under the bus, Paul.
Well, it is up to the junior people who they're trying to throw under the bus, whether they're going to stay there and be run over. I would urge them to say exactly what transpired. But a question is asked. Now, let me read it. Somebody asked a question here. The Guyana Police Force seeks to explain the second round without reference to the first. How Mr. Patterson or anyone else for that matter would end up on a no-fly list in the first place. That is the issue, and here it is. They're admitting to the wrong. They're admitting because they're saying that Mr. Patterson's name remained on this watch list. But why was his name on the list in the first instance? The Judge Justice Navendra Singh ruled on the 28th of December last year that the police have no authority to place anyone on any list or to remove or to prevent the person from traveling. And let me read excerpts of that. Let me read excerpts. It says, let me try to find what the judge said. One moment, give me one moment, please. Yeah, the judge said, they said, before I go to that, the lawyer said, Mr. Hughes and Mr. Patterson, he said, last year there was a ruling against having a no-fly or blacklist. We specifically had asked the court, in this case, in Mr. Patterson's case, about my ability to travel and was granted permission. So why this? They specifically asked the court for permission to leave, and the court granted that permission, and the police disregarding the court. So that's why you're having breakdown in the rule of law, disregarding. In fact, the judge has ruled that the only condition attached to the grant of bail is the future appearance of the person who is bailed, while stating that if a court granting bail determines that condition, such as restricting a person from person's movement out of the jurisdiction, are needed. Those are conditions to be attached to the grant of bail. So in other words, when you're put on bail, the magistrate or whoever put you on bail will make those conditions. Will make those conditions. He said no such authority is reposed in the Guyana Police Force under any written law in Guyana. The judge informed in his ruling, adding that the respondent, that is the police, had clearly misdirected themselves with respect to the contention, with respect to their contention that Article 139(1) of the Constitution restricts the applicant's right to travel pursuant to a bail order made by the court. He said, and the judge went on to say that the said article does not restrict the movement of an individual who has been granted bail by the court. Clear as crystal. He goes on to say in the same thing, the Bail Act, he said, makes it very clear that conditions, including conditions restricting a bailed person's ability to travel, may be imposed by the court granting bail. It may be imposed. And in this case, as we have said, no such condition was imposed. Logically, if such conditions are not imposed by the court, then they will not exist, the judge asserted, before going on to state that the Guyana Police Force cannot restrict the movement of any person around or out of Guyana unless such restriction is provided for in the laws of Guyana or in pursuant to an order of the court. That is what the law is. That is what, and the people, and the thing about this is recent. This is December 2022. And you have people there who are violating. And I'm saying this because they're saying that it should not removed. I am saying that from the time that order was made, all the names that were on that list should have been removed immediately. And the only list that the police should have, the only list the police should have, the immigration should have, would be the names of persons that the court said are not allowed to travel. So, in other words, if a person is charged and they wanted to put that person on a list, they would have had to make an application to the court. And only after that application is made and the court decided that the person should not travel, then and only then they should compile the list. Then and only then. That is clear. And the thing about it, as we have said, they have lawyers or they have people who have admitted to practice law. They have the DPP who is quick to rule and give all sorts of directions. They have a police legal advisor. You want to know, none of these people can't tell them that this thing cannot operate this way? And we're saying, because I understand from a reliable source that Mr. Patterson is not the only one. Other people, he might be the most prominent, but persons are still on a no-fly list at the immigration department. I was advised that not so long ago, people went there to travel and were told that they are on a no-fly list and they're not charged with anything. They could not travel. They have to travel back to town. These are clear violations of people's rights. But as I indicated yesterday, it's not an isolated incident where they squatted there, because you remember not so long ago, the complaints authority said the man breaking the law. You have the violation of rights of policemen who are charged with criminal offenses. Policemen who are not charged. In the case of the ones who are charged, since they go to court, they are arbitrarily dismissed. Arbitrarily, the courts have ruled repeatedly on that you can't dismiss a man just like that. You have a right to be heard. There's a presumption of innocence. So if a person is charged with a criminal offense, he's presumed innocent until proven guilty. Yet this squatter has been dismissing people. You have 2-3 young constables dismissed earlier this year, I think it was, in that Borbies fiasco where the officer lost his firearm. You have as recent as this month, I know of one person who was dismissed arbitrarily, nothing. The powers vested in me, they dismissed. And the courts have ruled repeatedly that it cannot operate in that fashion. I mentioned when I was the chairman of the Police Service Commission, I had an interaction with the the Attorney General's chamber. And they said it can't. They were pleading because they said in all of these matters, all where people are dismissed under those circumstances, the challenge is they go to court, they win. They win because the thing is unconstitutional, it is illegal, and yet still in these modern times, this is what is going on. And Mr. Patterson indicated, and I fully agreed with him, he said that I do not accept the Guyana Police Force apology, nor do I believe them. The absurdity of the reason, if you cannot put someone on a list unless you went to court. How is it possible that their name is there when you did not go to the court? And you say it is total drivel. And I agree with him. I agree totally and fully with Mr. Patterson. It is wrong. It is wrong. It is a continued constitutional violation of people's rights. You know, let me tell you of my experience. I was charged, as I mentioned yesterday, conspiracy to commit fraud and sexual assault on the 19th of May, 2021. I appeared in court on the first occasion on the 15th of October, 2021. And I was due to travel shortly after. And I spoke to my lawyer, Mr. Hughes, and I said, you know, these people are going to try to prevent me from leaving the country. So I want us to go to the court to get an order permitting me to travel. He said, good idea. Because I know the operation, I know the wickedness in them. I know the wickedness. At the time, the Deputy Chief Immigration Officer was Nigel Appy, who was just a rubber stamp. So I knew that he had nothing to do, as he had said in this same matter, by the thing political, he can't get involved. So I knew they would have done that. We made an application to the court. The application was ordered by the Chief Justice, right? The Attorney General himself, Anil Nandlal, appeared to oppose the application. In other words, he said I mustn't travel. The legal arguments were advanced, and the court permitted me to travel. I traveled, the court imposed certain restrictions. I traveled, and I came back when the court told me to come back. I had to leave on a second occasion. I made a second application. And again, the Attorney General Chambers objected to my traveling. Even though I had gone, I came in on the 13th of October 2021, voluntarily to attend court. I got permission to travel. I left. I returned as directed by the court. And when I wanted to leave a second time, again, they objected. And Justice Navendra Singh granted permission to me to leave, to come back at a particular time. I came back. And on the third occasion, I had to apply again to leave the jurisdiction. On a third occasion. This time, they did not oppose. And this time, I got what is basically an open-ended permission to leave and to return. So that is, I know the system. And I'm saying again, the fact that they're trying to throw ranks under the bus. Those ranks at the immigration department are very efficient. And the fact that they allowed Mr. David Patterson to pass the immigration, to stamp his passport with that exit stamp for him to pass, means that there was nothing in the system saying that he should not travel. I am further saying that anything that went into the system, if anything went there at all, I suspect there was nothing in the system. It's just somebody call and tell you don't allow him to travel. I suspect that there's nothing in the system. Somebody called and said don't allow him to travel. And I'm saying further that the only people who could have done that would have been the Deputy Chief Immigration Officer, Superintendent Stephen Telford, or the squatter, who is the Chief Immigration Officer, Acting Commissioner, Assistant Commissioner Clifford Ike. Those are the only two. Because I further say, and this is for the benefit of these people who are making comments about that, that even if someone outside of the police system would have called, the duty officer at Timeri, who may be a junior officer, assistant superintendent, chief inspector, whatever it is, they are not going to take that type of instruction from no outside person, whether it's a politician or not. Even if the president called, they would have gotten on immediately to the deputy chief immigration officer or the commissioner itself. They would have gotten on to someone who is senior to say, hey, this is what is going on. That is a discipline. They are professionals. Even though they might look young to many of us, they are professionals. They are well trained. They know how to deal with these issues. And to attempt now to throw them under the bus to talk about the OPR. And let me go back to the OPR thing that they're saying here. They're saying, Mr. Conway dealt with, going back to the OPR thing, to say OPR will investigate why the name was not removed immediately. That's OPR work. So you want the OPR investigate the superintendent, the deputy chief immigration officer. You want the OPR investigate the chief immigration officer, who is the commissioner. You want the OPR investigate the crime chief, because the crime chief can also go through a process to have persons put on a watch list. So those are the people. This is just BS, trying to placate people to say, oh, well, we investigating. Investigating what? Investigating what? The order to prevent Mr. Patterson from traveling would have come from, as the rank said, he said, I said, higher up. Higher up got to be the deputy chief immigration officer. And I am sure, again, Stephen Telford, the deputy chief immigration officer, would not have taken it on himself to stop Mr. Patterson from traveling. Put him in neck on a block. It's not a good thing to do when you're dealing with individuals, but I'm saying that he would not have done that on his own. Someone senior to him, and the only one senior to him in the system in this respect, got to be either the crime chief or the chief immigration officer himself to tell them. Because any other officer tell them so, even if it's admin or operations or special branch, they say, no. This got to come through a particular route before it is acted upon. I know the system, I was in the system for a long time, and even though the system has changed, I believe that that part still obtains. That part still obtains. Mr. Patterson says he's going to sue, and I agree that he should. The whole thing with this is that you're going to sue. How much money the court? The court will rule that they're wrong. The judge will say that they're wrong. They violated his constitutional right. And the judge is going to award some as damages, but whatever money you're talking about. And what's going to happen? The judge said, we're going to award a couple $1 million to Mr. Patterson. And who will pay? It's us, the taxpayer. We, the taxpayers, will have to pay the money. Because they're not going to, whether it's the chief immigration officer, whether it's the deputy chief immigration officer, they're going to come out of their pocket. They're not going to even be sanctioned. Because as we have seen in recent times, when you commit this egregious act, you get rewarded. Ramana arrests a lawyer for advising her client to remain silent. The man get promoted. The same squatter dismissing people arbitrarily. The complaints authority say you violating the law. What happened? The man get unlimited extension, right? So when you commit this act, you are rewarded because that is what the administration wants. The administration is not perturbed by these things. They get deep pockets. However, the court order, they're going to just pay the money and we move on. Because we allow it to happen. As I've said, we have a lot of people whose names are on the watch list, a lot of people who have been prevented. I don't think they have the wherewithal. They don't have the resources to challenge the system. But I think the lawyers, and I'm saying if anyone knows anyone who was prevented like that, tell them to reach out to some of these lawyers. I'm sure some of the lawyers are going to do it pro bono, man. I'm sure reach out. You must get some lawyer to assist. And it's not assisting you, they're assisting all of us to say that these acts, these illegal, unconstitutional acts, cannot be allowed to continue. They talk about democracy, they talk about rule of law, the Attorney General likes to talk about the rule of law and all of that. In a democracy where the rule of law operates, these things are not going to go unpunished, should not go unpunished. So I urge all to make sure that when these things happen to you, you take it up. I know it might be difficult because people don't want to be victimized, especially if you're working with the government. You don't want to be victimized and all that. But at some stage, you got to make up your mind to stand for your right. You stand for something or you will fall for anything. And let me bring in Mr. Conway if he wants to say anything further on this issue. See anything you already want to say?
Just to say that the bottom line is, Paul, that the police has a illegal list. You call it a stop order, a no-fly, whatever you call it, to prevent persons from leaving the country. Although, according to the Constitution, the court has got to decide that. And I'll tell you something. Last night, my wife and I, we were discussing. We are cricket fans. She's more a fanatic than I am. And we are discussing plans to go to the next World Cup, the final. I don't know which country it will be played because I think the ICC hasn't decided that. We went to Barbados when they had the last World Cup, and we went to several Caribbean countries and looked at cricket. And then she said, you know something, boy? Suppose you name them on this blacklist. Suppose you name them on the which list. She said, boy, you better check it out before we make we proper plans, and then when we're ready to go to this World Cup final, you're prevented from going. So, personally, I'm going to test the system. I'm going to test the system and see what is there.
Well, having said that, Mr. Conway, a man who was involved, I've been involved in this cricket thing for a number of years, since I was a police playing little case cup. Well, not case cup, the Brown Cup, which is interdepartmental. Then I played second division, which was North Coast. I played one case cup match. I played, I used to captain and play in the officers team and all of that. So I know something about cricket. But when you look at the venues for the T20 World Cup 2024 in the Caribbean, immediately you can rule out some countries as host countries to the final. Immediately, right? Including Guyana. Let me say this, including Guyana. I would not be surprised if when the names are announced or the schedule is announced, Guyana is not listed to no major game down to the end. Because you get a lot of challenges when it comes to these things. These things will normally go to one of these countries that are tourist-oriented. You know that the last two ICC finals, 2007 and 2010, both were played in Barbados. Both were played in Barbados. And I would not be surprised if the 2024 T20 World Cup final is played in Barbados again, because they have the infrastructure, not only at the ground, but hotels and the people want to go to the beach. Because we're talking about a T20 World Cup final, you're talking about thousands and thousands of persons coming to see this. And whatever you say, we really don't have the accommodation with all the hotels and all the things in the building. We don't have the accommodation for those people. We don't have. In 2007, when they were thinking about the World Cup, they had to think about cruise ship and all this type of thing. I know the capacity would have increased since then, but we still aren't up to it. We still are not there. So just to say, I believe that we can get a couple of warm-up matches, and that might be it. So let's see what will happen. Let me move on to the next. Anything else, CC?
No, let's move on. Let's move on.
Good. Let me move on. Let me move on to the issue that I announced that we will talk about. And let me start it by reciting. I can't sing, so y'all bear with me. I can't sing, but I'm gonna recite the first verse and the chorus of Dave Martin's patriotic and famous song, "Not a Blade of Grass." And it says, "We are a peaceful people, struggle as we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, don't just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. Then the chorus says, we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue saki, not one rice grain, not one kuras, not a blade of grass. And I'm going to add in this next line. Not one kuras, Venezuela, all your ass. And let me say this, because the next issue we're going to deal with here now, the next issue we're going to deal with is this spurious claim by Venezuela over 2/3 of Guyana's territory. 2/3 of Guyana, Venezuela is claimed. Let me show you all the map for you to get a graphic image of it. One moment. Look, this is what Venezuela is claiming. The green is Venezuela. The brownish part is Essequibo. And look, they got it, you see they got it in Spanish. Guyana Essequiba. And they're saying, therefore, if you look at the map on the extreme right, they're saying only the green part is Guyana. So you can see the whole of Guyana, basically, Venezuela is trying to lay claim to. The whole of Guyana, 2/3 of Guyana. And we all know that this part is the mineral-rich part of Guyana. Venezuela is saying that that belongs to them. And in recent times, how this issue come up now? They have this oil, they had the oil block auction sometime a few months ago, where I think 8 blocks were auctioned off. Immediately thereafter, Venezuela started to ratchet up, say that, look, basically, this is not Guyana territory. Let me quote what they are alleged to say. They're basically saying that the area in which the oil blocks are located, they say is disputed territory. And it says here, it comes less than 1 month after Venezuela warned that it would apply all necessary measures to prevent foreign oil companies from operating in oil blocks in Guyanese waters, and that Venezuelan would be voting in a consultative referendum to ratify the defense of their sovereign territory against the aggressions of the American empire. And that is what the Brazilian envoy is alleged to have said. Look, let me tell you this. This is not about politics. This is not be about nothing else. This is about Guyana's territory. Essequibo belongs to Guyana. And therefore, all of us Guyanese should come out and make that very, very clear. We noted all the diplomatic moves, the president, the government calling in the Venezuelan ambassador. We noted the support from CARICOM, the OAS, on all of these Commonwealth supporting Guyana's position. Because Guyana's position is clear. There was an award in 1899, say that this is what Guyana is, as we know it. Venezuela made some claim afterwards and make a lot of noise, right? But the international community is that, look, this thing has gone to the International Court of Justice, the ICJ. Venezuela resisted that. They resisted that. They said that the ICJ did not have jurisdiction to try the case. The matter was argued. And earlier this year, the International Court of Justice ruled that they have the jurisdiction to inquire and to determine finally the borders between these two countries. They don't want to wait for that. They don't want, you know why they don't want to wait for that? Because they know that they are going to lose this spurious claim. So what they're going to do, they are planning that they're going to hold a referendum. In other words, they're going to get the people of Venezuela to vote as to whether this part of Guyana is theirs or not. And to say this, these people in Venezuela have been teaching their children from the time you go into school. They're teaching you that this Essequibo belongs to them, belongs to Venezuela. They learned that in school. They learned that in school. They debate that in parliament, so much so that whatever difference they have, or whatever differences, the political differences they have, this is one issue that they're all united on, that Essequibo belongs to Venezuela. So when you come to this referendum, what do you believe the referendum is going to say? The referendum is going to vote in favor of saying that Essequibo belongs to them. That is what is going to happen. And this referendum is an attempt to preempt the decision of the International Court of Justice. The matter is before the International Court of Justice. Why not? If you're so confident that this place belongs to you, why not let the International Court decide on the matter? They have already ruled that they have jurisdiction, so why not let them decide on the thing? Go and argue your case, as we have been doing, and let the court, but they don't want that. They don't want that. They're flexing the muscles, they do not start thing. And let me show you a tape. Let me show you a tape, and before I show you the tape, let me say the tape is in Spanish, but they have English subtitles, and if you can read it quickly, because it moves fairly quickly, you might be able to say, and then later on I'm going to try to explain what is going on there. Look.
Desde aquí, este Parlamento, sus autoridades, este Ejecutivo Nacional, este presidente, esa vicepresidenta, todos nosotros decimos, esto pudo ser escrito en aquel momento, pero en este momento eso es imposible. Nosotros tenemos una extraordinaria Fuerza Armada Nacional Bolivariana dispuesta. Nosotros tenemos un Parlamento dispuesto. Nosotros tenemos un presidente dispuesto. Nosotros tenemos un pueblo dispuesto. No se equivoquen con nosotros los venezolanos. El Esequibo es nuestro, será nuestro y es nuestro a los hijos de nuestros hijos.
La Asamblea Nacional de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela, con las 2/3 partes de los votos de las diputadas y diputados, convocan a un referendo consultivo para que todo el pueblo hable, para que las mujeres de Venezuela hablen, para que los hombres de bien de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela digan: ese es mi territorio indisoluble, como es todo el suelo de la patria. Para que cada mujer y hombre de bien vaya a las máquinas de votación y le diga al imperio norteamericano: el Esequibo es de Venezuela, el sol de Venezuela nace en el Esequibo.
But you saw it there. Basically, what they're doing, that they think there's the Parliament or the National Assembly talking about the issue, arguing that Venezuela, that Esequibo belongs to Venezuela, and they're going to hold this referendum and to decide on the way forward. But this, as CC said, we are relatively sitting back, very quiet. And let me ask CC to make some comments on this before we move. I come in again. CC, let me hear your views, having seen this and having seen it among the territory they're claiming and so on. Let's have your say on it.
It is clear, that they are determined that 2/3 of Guyana belongs to Venezuela. They said so over and over again. Now they've gone into Parliament asking for a referendum. And here we're sitting and actually doing anything. We have a rare case where the leader of the opposition and the president, they are united in the stand that Esequibo belongs to Guyana and that we must fight Venezuela if there is need for any fight. But the thing is that just talk and nothing more. The two of them agree. I know if they had any handshake, but they agree. We should have already recalled Parliament. I know Parliament is recess. Recall Parliament, or as soon as Parliament reconvenes, move into action. We should have been getting rallies all over this country. Things should have been on our radio, on our television. You just name it. Things should have been happening. I think kudos to God Mosley. Every day June is program at 7. When it's 7:30 in the morning, because when it's 7:30, you hear Dave Martin's song. We ain't giving up a mountain. You hear there's a national anthem. Garden Boy starts with a national anthem, and at 7:30 every morning, there is Dave Martin program. What are we doing? What are we not doing anything in schools? We're not doing anything no at all about it. We just sit down and then what we did, we want to say that we are inclusive. They find a washout member of the PNC and made him an ambassador to Venezuela when he should have a career diplomat still in everything there. But because he's Bonham's son-in-law, maybe, and he was an executive member of the PNC. But if he's Bonham's son-in-law, he can't even lace him Bonham's shoe. The thing is that we need to be more action-oriented. We need to be proactive. We throw him back, allowing Venezuela to do all sorts of things. Well, I'm going to develop my story a little more later.
Yeah, thank you, my brother. I agree. But let me say this. As I've said before, and it's in the news, the OAS, the Organization of American States, I think it is, the Commonwealth countries, CARICOM, the U.S. State Department, they're all on Guyana's side. You know what the Venezuelans are arguing now? Let me read this part where they're saying the reason why they are doing this, apart from the fact that the area for the oil fields belongs to them. They are saying, they say, well, this is one. They said Venezuela in recent days called on President Irfan Ali to participate in bilateral talks with the Venezuelan counterpart Nicolas Maduro in a Caribbean nation as a means of settling the dispute. But rubbish, I think the president has indicated no. The matters before the ICJ. Why you want bilateral talk to settle that dispute that has been going on for decades? And every time something comes up, they show some spoke in the wheel. And we have finally been able to get the matter to get to the ICJ, where there should be a binding agreement. They don't want to agree to that. They don't want to agree. Maybe it's because the former president Jagdio had agreed to give them some type of concession. You know, that was there some either access to the Atlantic or some concession. So maybe they want concession. But any concession got to come after you have agreed to give up this spurious claim. Then we can consider having anything. And then it goes on to say to the UN last week, the Venezuelan ambassador, whoever represented Venezuela there, is making claim that U.S. is trying to use part of Essequibo as a military base to attack Venezuela. Nonsense, all sort of rubbish. They said that Venezuela, they say Venezuela claims that the United States was planning to establish a military base in the Essequibo region, which Venezuela claimed as ours. The intelligence of this international community should not be insulted by Venezuela's allegation that Guyana is allowing its territory to be used as a platform for military aggression against any state, including the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. That is what our permanent representative to the United Nations, Caroline Rodriguez-Bosquet, had to say. I am saying this. We should stay informed. And, you know, we're getting all this support. But what do you have in Guyana? What do you have apart from the few statements that are being made, apart from the few letters that are in the media and elsewhere? Nothing substantial. And I'm saying that given the fact that Venezuela has been teaching their children from as early in school days that Essequibo belongs to Venezuela, we should embark on an aggressive program, not aggressive in terms of military interaction, aggressive educational program in the schools, on the road, on the radio, on the airwaves, on the TV. We should embark, because if you were to ask the average Guyanese now, what is this 1899 agreement about? They don't know. I remember when I attended the police junior officer course in, I think it was 1980-81. We had lectures on that. We had lectures on the whole history of that claim by Venezuela. We had it. But what has happened? Ask any average school child now, what is this Venezuelan thing with Guyana about? They don't know. Ask many of these masqueraders and the squatters and all of them. They don't know. And therefore, I'm saying that we need to have a very urgent and aggressive educational program, because you can't ask people to resist Venezuela and to stand up to Venezuela when they don't know what it's about. I think that's common sense. They have to know what it is about before you can ask them to resist, before you can ask them to stand up to the enemy. And Venezuela is the enemy. You have no doubt about that. I have no doubt about that. Because they have, over the years, been very aggressive in their pursuit of this two-thirds of Guyana. They have stymied the development of Guyana over the years. They have chased out exploration boats from the territory, claiming that they're these. Over the years, they've done that. Those things are on record. People will tell you, even in the Eterengbang area, where the area, they patrol the river, the border river. Guyanese businessmen have to pay, are extorted, and all of those things goes on the river. And we stay quiet and we allow it to go on. I say we can go and we can fight militarily and so on, because we hope that it doesn't come to that. Because remember, we have a chief of staff who, when a member of parliament said something about him in parliament, he became emotionally distressed and decided to make a report to the police, and the parliamentarian, I think is charged under the Cybercrime Act. So you can't expect these people to stand up at anything. As I said before, the first bomb that dropped by the Atlantic Ocean there, he got running, he had a bunker somewhere at the headquarters there. No, we ain't getting into that. We don't have the resources to that. We have the international community on our side, but we as Guyanese have to come together and show the international community that we are united in this, on this one, at least on this one occasion. We might have our political differences, where we are alleging that the government is discriminating against certain people and so on, where they are bringing trumped up charges against people who they see as critic and all these type of things. We can have that difference. But when it comes to our territory, we should be united. The government should have this educational program. By now, the government should have called for a big rally. They got to show force and strength to the international community. They are supporting us. So what we can do? We just sit down and write in a couple letters and so on. We should have had rallies, drawing thousands and thousands of people to say, and this is not a rally to deal with anything about politics. It's to deal with the territory, where you have our leaders together talking about these issues and showing people that for with this one, we are united, and we're not, as Dave Martin said, not a blade of grass. That is what should happen. And it is not too late. It is not too late. And it brings me to the other point. Having regards to all of this, it makes the decision by the Guyana Police Force to paint the word policia. I hope I pronounced it correctly. I used to say policia. And I have a friend who speaks fluent Spanish, told me that in Spanish, it is pronounced policia. So you have to emphasize on the C. So to have the word policia painted or emblazoned on the side of police vehicles, to have Spanish writing in police stations in Guyana, especially those stations in Regions 1, Region 2, Region 7, Region 8, Region 9, those are all regions only in Essequibo. So here you have these bright boys. Venezuela is claiming, but let me give them this. These signs, I think, were put on these vehicles prior to this new aggressive stance by Venezuela. So I'm giving them that. But since Venezuela has now come out with this renewed claim and doing all these gymnastics and all these maneuvering, this is the time for you to say, let those signs go. Let those signs be removed. And that is one of the things we as Guyanese should call on now. That the police, the Minister of Home Affairs, Robeson did say in a release, he's alleged to have said that it was a trial. The signs, but I don't know, you're going to trial these things and put it in all the vehicles. He said it was a trial. Well, the trial should come to an end immediately. The trial of putting Spanish word policia on the side of the vehicles and other words in the police station should stop immediately. Someone did tell me, remark that Region 3 is also in Essequibo. Well, not the whole of Region 3. In Region 3, which you have Purica and those places, they are part of Essequibo. But the western part of, eastern part rather, is fully in Demerara. So remember, the border between Essequibo and Demerara, across the river, there is the Burasiri Creek. The Burasiri Creek is the border. And when we talk about Region 3 encompasses both the part east and west of the Burasiri Creek. So it is not true to say that Region 3 is only and fully in Essequibo. And we teach, so you also want to make sure that that is known. But I'm saying that, I looked up the definition of a treason. And I'm saying that the act of putting these signs, Spanish writing, police station, on police vehicle, can be deemed to be treasonous. Because treason is giving aid and comfort to the enemy. That is what the dictionary says. Treason is giving aid and comfort to your enemy. And I'm saying that Venezuela now must be seen as our enemy. And to go to this point where you're now putting Spanish. Remember, I said Venezuela is our only Spanish-speaking neighbor. Only Spanish-speaking, and they have laid claim to two-thirds of your country. And these bright people that we have decided that the police vehicles in that in that area claimed by Venezuela should now have Spanish writing. My God, how more stupid can these people be? How more stupid? And we should demand that those things be removed. And if they were looking for a way out, if they were looking to save face to take it out, Venezuela has given them the opportunity. Venezuela has provided them with the opportunity to have those signs removed. And it is even more ridiculous than that. But let me bring in CC, and then I'll come back a little later. CC, let's hear your further take on this matter.
Well, I had a bit of training, and in things like this border issue and other major issues, I can use an acronym. They say we should look at our DIME, DIME. And the D we're talking about is diplomacy. And that's where the government should be focusing heavily on diplomacy. Those foreign nations that are very helpful to us, that are very supportive to us. And only the nations, the organization of American states and all of the Commonwealth, the CARICOM and all those things that we should be fighting quietly, quiet diplomacy, and aggressively in other areas. Diplomacy should be very, very important. Then is when we need to strengthen our foreign affairs. We take the greenest man and we send his Guyana ambassador to Venezuela. Venezuela should have a career diplomat and a career diplomat in Caracas with the relative staff and equipment to deal with the situation. They're sending Dr. Venus Charles. They're sending a medical doctor there in the heart of it. We need to do much, much more in terms of our diplomacy. Part of our time. The intelligence. Our intelligence has got to come into play. The war hasn't started, but we need to be prepared for any eventuality. Intelligence is critical. Always remember the Israelis surrounded by 50 million enemies and they can't beat them because of their intelligence, because of the Mossad and others, that we need to have proper intelligence. And we have some little packets, I will call them out, like our Regional Intelligence Committee, our Special Branch, head of Joint Intelligence Committee, or CIA, or what you call it, the Joint Service Coordinating Council, and all those intelligence agencies got to come into play. And not only intelligence in Guyana, intelligence we're looking for coming out of Venezuela. And we have all those migrants that they're keeping here, and also give them passport and citizenship. I'm certain that many spies are in that thing there. So our intelligence is critical. We need to look at our intelligence. in the dime. The military. And when I talk about the military, I'm not only talking about the Ghanaian Defense Force. I'm talking about the Giant Service, more so the army and the police. What's happening at our border locations? Places like Kaikan, Eterimbang, Imbatiro, Purimo, Moroano, Aquario, Yarakito, and Purimo and those places. What is going on there? Those are key border areas. Do we have the relative staff there? Are we talking to them? Do they have the relevant training? Are we looking in terms of later on they've been trained in some jungle warfare and other issues that we need to deal with our personnel? And apart from that, we need to develop, give them the necessary equipment. Do they have boats? Do they have vehicle? Do they have equipment? You know, the thing is that we're not looking at it, and then our economics, our economy is now on the high sea in our 200-mile economic zone. Barra Jagdeo said that he gonna give them access through our waterway to the Atlantic. The Atlantic is where the thing there, and Jagdeo said he gonna give them access. And when we talk about waterways, you got to be talking about the Cayuni, the Mazaroni, the Potaro, the Rupununi, and the Essequibo, straight through our waterways where there is the economic boom. So I'm saying, I can develop it but short of time. I'm saying briefly that we need to look at our dime. Diplomacy, intelligence, our military, and our economy.
Well said, my brother. Well said, well said, well said. You know, there's a comment here, and I should put it up. I will put it up for you to see because I agree. Look, this is what this contributor is saying. Even high political officers are using the word dispute. And he says here, we do not have a border dispute with Venezuela. That was settled by the 1899 arbitration. What has developed is a controversy occasioned by Venezuelans' repudiation of the award decades after accepting it. Education is key. Brother Winston, I agree, and that's what we said. Education is key. People must be taught how this thing came about. There was the 1899 arbitration which says that, look, this is what the border, Essequibo belongs to Guyana. And then if my memory serves me correct, long after they developed this controversy, where they say some man, I think so, some French person on his dying bed claimed that there was some jiggery-poggery going on for this award, for this thing to be awarded to Guyana. In other words, he claimed it was a corrupt process. Long after, decades after, that came up. So yeah, we don't have a dispute. The thing was settled in 1899. And the man should know, you know, because he's been out since then. That man who gives every Thursday, he get press conference, and he knows everything. I'm referring to the vice president, he knows everything. So it seems that he was around since 1899 when this award, this arbitration was done. And therefore, he should be able to advise us as to exactly what took place. But this is rubbish. We can't sit back. And as we said, this is not to go to no military fight. We already have the international committee on our side, but we must show them that we as Guyanese are united in this issue. We should have rallies. Somebody said we should go and picket certain places. Let the world see. Things must flash across the world that Guyanese are united. And people are going to ask the question, what is this about? Then they're going to go back to see how spurious this claim is. But as I've said, you ask people now, they're up on the radio, they're talking about Flavor the Dance, they're making us at a side with the president photo and the squatter photo. And you don't see nothing in relation to this border controversy. Not a dispute, as Winston pointed out, the controversy that they have caused. Because having agreed to the award in 1899, they wait decades after to say, well, look, we haven't agreed to it any longer. But as we have said, the matter is before the ICJ. Venezuela objected. Venezuela said they argued all kind of thing to say that the ICJ does not have jurisdiction to determine this matter. the ICJ rule that they do have jurisdiction. That is the earlier this year. So let the matter go through this legal process. But no, they don't want that. They're saying now that we're going to have a referendum. A referendum is a sham, because the people have been taught in school all the years since they're small that Essequibo belongs to them. So what do you think the referendum is going to say? The referendum is going to endorse that Venezuela, endorse Venezuela's claim to Essequibo. And I'm saying again, that is even more reason that this whole decision by the whoever it is, whether it's the president, whether it's the Minister of Affairs, whether it's the man who's squatting in the chair of the Commissioner of Police, to have the word policia painted on the side or emblazoned on the side of the police vehicles, and to have similar Spanish signs in police stations, especially in the Essequibo region, is tantamount to treason, and it should be removed forthwith. It should be removed. That is one of the things we as Guyanese should demand. Apart from demanding that we educate our people about this issue and that we rally and show support on this issue, we should demand that those things be removed. Nowhere else in the world, people have said to me, and the excuse that they gave, oh, we have a large Spanish-speaking community and we have to cater for them. No, you go to Texas, large Spanish-speaking community. Go to Little Havana in Miami. Go to Arizona. Go to New Mexico. Go to New York. Those people have millions of Spanish-speaking people. And you don't see any sign in Spanish because the color of the police vehicle, and you know, it's insulting people's intelligence to say that you have the word policia for a Spanish-speaking person to understand that that is a police vehicle. You have the color of the vehicle, you have flashing lights, you have all of those things, which identifies the vehicle as being a police vehicle. And to have these signs in the police station is even more ridiculous. Because you said, all right, the people can't come in and recognize the inquiries office. So you put the word inquiries office in Spanish and other language. So all right, they come in there now and they can identify the inquiries office. Can the persons who are manning those offices relate to them in Spanish or whatever other language? You don't see how foolish this thing is? You put the language, but you don't have anybody in the station who can interact with these persons and the language. Ridiculous, atrocious, terrible, and should be removed immediately. That's something we should rally about. Remove it immediately from off the police vehicles. Right? And as my colleague said, I am sure with that influx of Spanish-speaking people, especially the Venezuelans, into the country, I'm sure they get the Trojan horses coming in there to do all the mapping. They know where your headquarters here is. You know all your police station. They know all your KPs and your VPs. They know all of these things because you don't have any proper way of vetting these people before they come in. And then now you're going to put your vehicles and your police station in Spanish. I cannot attend this atrocity. That is exactly what it is. And I said it's tantamount to treason. And we should demand that those things be removed forthwith. Forthwith. And if they refuse to do that, we should ask that they go. It's about time we ask for some people to take a flight. Take a flight. The Minister of Affairs, I think it's time he retire. The man who is squatting the commissioner's chair, who got a extended period, unlimited period, because the president says he's extended to a time to be determined. Well, you should determine that the time is now. We should demand and determine, with that, in light of all of what is going on, the Patterson's incident, the other incident of violation, the report by the complaints authority, and now signs on police with Spanish, which will say, thank you for your service, go your way in peace. That is what we should see. We should start demanding. If they don't do this, we should show them that we, the people in Guyana, we are the ones who have the power. We are the ones who have the power to show to the world that we are united on this Venezuelan controversy, and that we are united in ensuring that these Spanish signs and so on are removed. I know people have been saying that very soon, I guess you're going to have street signs in Spanish. That is what people are saying. Very soon you're going to have that. And let me say this. We did a short clip on this same issue with the word policia on the side of police vehicles. A short clip is about 12 minutes. It's there on YouTube. It's there on Facebook. It was posted on the 18th of this month, just over a week. It has had, when I checked this morning, 98,000 plus views on Facebook, and a lot of views on YouTube. So it's over combined. It's over 100,000 views that short clip has had, and 99.9% of the people are in agreement that the signs should be removed. 99. I mean, it's not a scientific survey, but if we are to look at that, 99.9% people say that there's no way this sign. And I point out some of the things, the same things I've been saying. That you go all over the world, whatever language the country speak, Guyana is an English-speaking country, and therefore the sign should be in English. And if the Spanish people come to Guyana, then they should assimilate. But I don't know who got this idea. I understand the people saying the idea came from right at the top. Well, right at the top should get involved and tell them reverse this thing. Let me bring in back Mr. Conway to have his final say on this issue. When I say final for today, because I suspect we gonna come again on the issue. CC, let me hear you.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that we are aiding and then abetting the Venezuelans when we put up those signs, Spanish signs at our police stations and our buildings, and we paint them on our vehicles. Total nonsense. As you rightly say, it could be within the ambit of treason. We are aiding and abetting them. And I say that we should start developing our frontiers. Use the oil money to develop our frontiers. If you don't develop them, you are likely to lose them. And look at our military. Do we have a rapid response capability? Do we have the equipment? We have a chief of staff who could be emotionally disturbed by person just uttering words. I don't know if you hear the sounds of guns, what will happen. And we have an extended squatter in the place that now it's time to look at real leadership. Don't wait and say nothing gonna happen. We need to be prepared. And I'm repeating, take off them Spanish thing we get at station. Take them off in the vehicles. We can't be accommodating the Spanish people. I think it's yesterday or something. I saw an article by Hamilton Green, the former mayor, and he reminded us, when in Rome, you gotta do as the Romans do. If the Spanish men come, they gotta abide with our laws. We can fix things to suit them. They gotta abide by laws, and we need to make sure that we be aggressive, diplomacy. We need to do that. We need to ensure that we look at our dime, as I mentioned, diplomatically, look at our intelligence, look at our military, and look at our economy. That's all I need to say for the moment.
Sorry, I was talking there, I wasn't on. I said, let me put up this sign for you to see what Venezuela is claiming. This is for your benefit. They're not claiming just a little piece of Guyana. They're saying the whole of the Essequibo, the old part shaded there on the left in the lighter brown, and you see they have it in Spanish. And as I've said before, they are teaching this in school, and they have this map in school. And in some cases, this part here is not they get this as Guyana, as Venezuela. This part here, they have as Guyana. As Venezuela, I'm saying, they have as Venezuela, this part. Look what's going on here. Look what's going on. This is the whole of Essequibo. And they're saying, so when they get this part, nothing is left for we. And as we said, this is where all the resources are. All the resources, the oil blocks are out there in our economic zone. Nothing to do with them. They're over here, they got a whole place there. This is our economic zone. This is our economic zone. And we are sitting a lot of talk, and we are not educating our people. As Winston said, people have to be educated. And here, let me tell you something. Forget about the messenger. Forget about the messenger being slow and Conway. Listen to the message and make sure that you do the right thing. You should start by rallying support from the Guyanese population on this issue. You should educate them. Let people know. It's from the school right through. Let people know. Spend some of that money that they're spending, cricket carnival done, that you're spending on all of those things that people say are meaningless, and educate Guyanese so they know what it is. Spend some money for lobby internationally. Let people know what Venezuela is doing and how this has been affecting our development for decades. For decades, it has been affecting our development, and they want to do this again. Because what is not known, as we said, they're still in the Kaini River and all of those places exercising dominance in territory that's supposed to be Guyana's. Businessmen are extorted. People got to pay toll and all kind of thing. Right? That is what is going on. So, folks, in closing, I say it is very important that we have this session because we couldn't leave this thing for too long. We have to come, we have to speak about it. And we have to urge the government to take more or to take more condign action in this matter. Formal action. We ain't saying you must go to war. But your diplomacy and other measures must be very aggressive. Must very aggressive. Your educational program, your rallying, your support must be very aggressive, because if something were to happen, the people who you want to represent you and who want to fight you, I know what they're fighting for. They don't know what they are fighting for. You have to educate them, perhaps even the members of the Guyana Defense Force and the Guyana Police Force, our security services. Pull them and ask them what this 1899 award, arbitration award is about. Pull them and ask them what is the claim Venezuela is making, what is the background. I'm sure they don't know. They don't know. So you want people to be representing you, perhaps even fight for you, and they don't know what they are fighting for. How ridiculous can you be? How more ridiculous can you be? So I hope that they would listen to this. They have a national security advisor who you hardly see or hardly hear. So I hope that he will look at this thing and advise as to what action to be taken. Because if nothing else, this is a national security issue. This threatens the sovereignty of Guyana, as we know. It threatens everything. Because without Essequibo, we are nothing. Look at it there again. I left the map up for you to see. I like the graphics. Look at it there. Without Essequibo, we have nothing. And we are fighting. We are fighting for political power and all of that. People, Venezuela come and grab Essequibo, you might even have a country to rule. So get your priorities right. Get your priorities right. And I want to leave. I tell you again what Dave Martin said. Not a blade of grass. Not one blue saki. Not one kuras. Not a blade of grass. Venezuela, all your ass. That is what I would interject in the lyrics of that song. So, folks, it was good having you here on Thursday. We had a Thursday before, but that was put out because we had court engagement on the Wednesday. We had a Thursday, but this is a specially. This was a special episode to deal with these two issues: the partisan issue and the Venezuela issue. And we're gonna keep talking about this Venezuelan issue. We're gonna keep, because this is should be in the forefront of the minds of all Guyanese, especially the patriotic ones. Some seem not to be patriotic, because when you look at some of the comments in the clip that I referred to earlier, some saying, well, what is wrong with Spanish on the side of the police vehicles? There's nothing wrong with that. We must teach Spanish in school. Nothing wrong with teaching Spanish in school. The president announced suddenly that Spanish should be compulsory in school. Nothing wrong with that, I don't think. But to have those signs on the police, on your security vehicles in the area that is claimed by Venezuela, to me is madness. There is the height of madness and borders on treason. And therefore, I'm saying what I'm saying, right? And folks, stay well. We're gonna be back on Monday, because remember I said we were not gonna be on Mondays. We were not on last Monday because we were in court. The matter was set to continue Monday, the 2nd of October. That is the conspiracy, this trumped up conspiracy to commit fraud case. But it has now been rescheduled to continue on the 9th. Monday, the 9th of October at 1 p.m. So we now will run a program on Monday at God's Pay Life. On Monday at 11 o'clock, we'll see you for another episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Until then, and I want to see people and want to hear people agitating against it with this Venezuelan issue, you know. Don't just come on the program. I want to see people writing letters. People demanding of the representatives, the politicians, to take the actions that we have recommended to bring this issue to the forefront of the Guyanese consciousness. That is important. The education, and to make sure that we mobilize for the world to see, the people who are supportive of us, to see that we too, as a people, are on one side when it comes to this issue. So until Monday, God's Pray Life, stay well, and we will see you then. Bye.